Greetings and salutations. My name is OJ as always, and welcome back to another episode in the Deadlockathon, a series of videos where I go over every single character in Valve's not so secret hidden game, Deadlock. I'll be going in alphabetical order from Abrams to Yamato, and I will be covering their lore / personality, their gameplay / abilities, as well as their design. Please do keep in mind though that almost everything in these videos that I talk about is subject to change at a later date. That's just kind of the nature when you're talking about something like Deadlock, as the game is still, a work in progress. It's still, I think it's in beta now. I'm not sure what actual terminology we're in currently. But if you wish to play Deadlock for yourself, I will throw up my Steam name on screen. All you have to do is subscribe and I'll send you a code. Yeah, look at that. Look at me go, throwing in a plug like that. But anyways, with those disclaimers and explanations out of the way, our object of obsession for today, that rhymes, I actually quite like, that rhymed, our object of obsession for today is none other than definitely not Matt Merc-I, a terror to all of New York, that being the Drifter. Now, as I like to do in all of these videos, I would like to start by reading off the Drifter's in-game background and discussing some little tidbits of lore pieces about him and, the usual. But with that said, his in-game background reads as such. An ancient vampire roaming across America, the nameless monstrosity known as the Drifter has been preying on the living for generations. Unlike most vampires, Drifter doesn't value finery or titles, and has naked contempt for vampiric laws and tradition. This refusal to toe the line has made him a marked man all over the North American baronies. But while viscounts and elders cry for his execution, Drifter continues to do what he pleases. I don't think that's how you say that, baronies? Is that how you say that? I have absolutely no clue. Drifter's background is decent enough. Funny enough, I didn't actually know he was a vampire. I didn't actually know he was a vampire till I read that. I thought he was just, crazy or sick in the head or just mental or just super powered. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility, right? Every other Deadlock character has a supernatural ability in some way, shape or form. So I didn't actually even realize he was a vampire. I feel like the fangs probably should have been dead giveaway, but that's besides the point. Some other tidbits of lore about the Drifter that I feel are worth mentioning is that the Drifter, according to what the Doorman says during his ultimate, has lived for centuries. His exact age isn't known currently, but he refers to New York as New Amsterdam, which implies he's been around since at least 1665, according to the wiki of course. And unlike the other heroes, Drifter isn't participating in the rituals for a wish, but instead for the carnage and the fun of, killing people en masse, because he's actually a deranged lunatic. This guy is actually insane. He just loves killing people. He loves murder. He loves carnage. He has voice lines where he says, "Once I'm done with the bodies, they won't even be able to recognize who I killed." Like, okay, we get it, man. You're actually insane. You're genuinely sick in the head. Some other tidbits though, continuing with his lore, is that he thinks Mina, a fellow vampire, is a pathetic excuse for a vampire, which is funny to me. And apparently he is old friends with Oathkeeper, who some of you, or if you do not know who that is Lady Geist's glowing green arm. There is a literal spirit inside of that arm that she keeps locked up with the padlock that is on her sort of bicep. Apparently them two are old friends, which I feel like might explain why his hands are like red. I wouldn't be surprised if at a previous time Oathkeeper did possess the Drifter and then they eventually went their separate ways. I mean, Lady Geist's arm is green, right? Maybe Drifter possessed or had Oathkeeper possess his arms and got that weird power. I don't know why he has glowing red arms actually. Chalk it up to vampire powers. I mean, Mina can shoot bats out of her umbrella. I don't know how that works, but hey ho. He also has a history with Grey Talon. I will play one of his voice lines between him and Grey Talon in a minute, but them two have a history, and Drifter really enjoys talking to Grey Talon. Grey Talon does not. Grey Talon absolutely hates him, and speaking of voice and the such, although it is not necessarily confirmed, and a lot of this stuff is speculation up in the air when it comes to voice actors, blah 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 blah, The Drifter is voiced by Matt Mercer. I am not going to say other. It is Matt Mercer. It is. Anyone saying otherwise, I just think you lying. This is Matt Mercer. For those that don't know who Matt Mercer is, you may know him as Cassidy from Overwatch. I personally know him, besides Cassidy of course, I know him as Yusuke from Persona 5, as well as, funny enough, the English dub voice of Goro Majima in the Yakuza series, or Like a Dragon series. He's done, obviously that's just a few of the many roles he's done. He was in Baldur's Gate 3 as well, if I remember rightly. He's like one of the most prolific voice actors there is in the industry. He's a really cool dude from what I know. And yeah, it's the Drifter is definitely voiced by Matt Mercer, doing I believe it's a Cajun accent. I think that's how you say that, spelled C-A-G-U-N. That accent does actually give the Drifter a lot of personality. If I remember rightly, I think Kim Kitsuragi from Disco Elysium has that accent. I may be mistaken though. But yeah, like Drifter's voice is really cool. Like, he sounds charismatic in a sense, but he is incredibly creepy. A lot of his quotes are just he's just scary. Like, he refers to himself as an existence, not as a person. The exact quote is, "My existence is like gravity or time, a concept that you fear but you cannot escape. I simply am." Which, I mean, that's very, you're very full of yourself for saying that, but judging from how everyone else talks about him, how majority of the cast are petrified of him, such as Rafe, who literally admits that she is scared shitless of him, I would say he has reason to be calling himself, you know, a literal force of nature. But yeah, he's very scary, very demented. He is Matt Mercer does a very good job at portraying someone who could, if someone was unaware, I feel like Drifter could serenade them with his voice and lead them down a dark alley and then proceed to brutally kill them. Like, that is the type of person that I'm getting from Drifter. But if someone was smart enough, Drifter is also the type of person to just turn into a wild beast, start roaring and raving, and fight someone to the death. I mean, a good example of him exploiting someone's innocence is he has a line between him and Bebop where he's like, "Oh man, it's a long old time, I'm really in need of some food." And Bebop, I do love him, but he does the one thing you should never do with a vampire, which is invite him into his home so Miss Shelley can make him some food. I love Bebop, but man, he is stupid. But as I just mentioned a few moments ago, he does actually have a really cool, it's not cool, just that this is a voice line between him and Grey Talon to show just like how demented he is. And I'm going to play it now for you because I do really think it shows like how evil he is and how like sick in the head he is. Just for reference, Grey Talon is on a revenge mission to avenge his dead grandchildren, if I remember rightly. It's either his kids or his grandkids. Either way, he's on a mission of vengeance and he's trying to find the person that killed his grandkids. And this is the voice line about that between him and the Drifter.
"Did you do it?" "Wesley, if I was gonna murder your grandkids, we both know I would have tied you down and made you watch." "I'm going to kill you." "Oh, you only gonna try, but it ain't gonna be today. You need me."
Just like, man, Matt Mercer does such a good job. Like, he is just sick. He's awful. He's literally like the boogeyman in a sense. Like, he's very similar to like just a force of nature that, like, I really like how he's portrayed. Like, he's actually just evil. Like, straight up, this is pure force of nature level evil shit. And he is very demented, very scary, very creepy. Like, he very much reminds me of Death from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, both on an aesthetic front, you know, with the sort of glowing red eyes and stuff, but we'll get to that when I get to talk about his design. But in just the sense that he's like this force of nature that will just kind of kill you. Obviously they serve different purposes. Death in Puss in Boots is literally death, as in the concept, whereas Drifter is literally a vampire who's incredibly demented and incredibly strong. So there is obviously some differences, but I don't know, people have obviously drawn the comparison. I'm not the first to do that. I can see where the comparison comes from though. I really like Drifter. I like the way he's portrayed. He is just straight up evil, and besides him, we don't really have many other characters in the game that are just like evil. Like, even people like Lash is just an asshole. He isn't really evil per se. He's just a bit of a dickhead. I'd say the closest other character to maybe being evil is probably like 7. Maybe 7. Besides that, I can't really think of anyone else who is like straight up evil. Like would kill people for fun. Like even then, 7 doesn't kill people for fun. Like Drifter is in a league of his own, shall we say. But with his limited lore and personality done and covered, I would like to move on to covering his gameplay and abilities. Please do keep in mind that for this next segment on gameplay and abilities, I will be using OBS to record my audio as well as my gameplay footage to kind of talk and show at the same time, which is obviously beneficial for me as well as very beneficial for you, because I can, say something and then actually show it immediately as I do it. But please do keep in mind that my voice may sound, a bit different, because obviously the audio quality is different from Audacity, which is what I'm using to speak right now, to OBS. But with that disclaimer out of the way, I shall see you in the training range in like 3 seconds. Right, so here we are in the ever so lovely and ever so helpful training range for my videos. And first things first, when it comes to Drifter's gameplay, we first have to look at his basic weapon, which is incredibly important because a lot of his damage is coming from this thing. They're called the Crimson Grasp, aka just his big ass hands. I would like to note that their reload time, because bullet damage, etc., that all scales, and fire rate, that all changes with items and such, but reload time is not something you can really change outside of like abilities that let you auto reload when doing, or items that let you auto reload when using a certain ability, blah blah blah. It does have a 2.44 second reload time, which is quite long, I'm going to be honest, which is why, as you'll see from, say, this build here, he benefits from magazine increases, because the more ammo he has, the less he has to reload, etc, etc. But that's me going a little bit ahead. The actual Crimson Grasp looks like this. It's akin to, say, like a shotgun attack in a sense. But I will admit, the sort of trajectory of the bullets is kind of weird. It's kind of like it was obviously meant to be like a slash. So instead of like, being a normal shotgun pattern, like, just a random spread, it's this sort of 3-line diagonal, not diagonal, no, wait, horizontal, vertical, yeah, diagonal. A diagonal kind of blast that goes left to right, left to right. It does make it Drifter kind of struggles a little bit in lane. So say, for example, I kill this minion. It can be kind of awkward to secure souls because of how, the differing directions can be. Like even there, you just saw me miss one of the shots, though that could just because I have shit aim. But that's besides the point. No, the reason that I said earlier, or just a second ago, that these weapons are so strong is because, well, if you get up close and personal, which is kind of where the Drifter wants to be when you consider the rest of his kit, you're going to be hitting all of the slashes, which can result in a lot of damage, with abilities and such. Yeah, his weapon is very important to the rest of his kit, and you'll notice that I mention his weapon multiple times when it comes to the rest of his kit. But speaking of the rest of his kit, his first ability is known as Rend, with a description reading as such. Swipe at enemies in a cone ahead of you, dealing melee damage. If the enemy is at close range, deal bonus spirit damage. It does 62 melee damage at base, 40 bonus spirit damage at base, has a 15-second cooldown, an 18-meter range, and for the bonus damage, you have to be within 8 meters, and that looks as such. You sort of charge yourself up, get a AoE around you to see how far it goes, and then you throw out sort of 2 slashes. Now these slashes have, as you can see, quite the wide hitbox. Like I'm not really even aiming at that guy. I'm not even aiming at the training bot, and it is still managing to hit. Now if you get up close and personal, you get that sort of bonus spirit damage shown by the purple 40. This ability, as the game goes on, will get stronger and stronger. And you may notice that the title of the video is that he is the Snowball King. And yeah, I would argue Drifter, of every character in the entire roster, is the best at snowballing. In the B-roll footage that I had playing at the beginning of the video, I ended that game off with 52,000 souls and had a 1v5 fight that I won solely because of how Drifter can snowball. The only character that even remotely comes close to him in terms of snowball potential is someone like Hayes, or maybe Victor. These two can also snowball in quite good ways, like Seven's probably a good option as well. He can do a lot of damage later on. Every character has the potential to snowball, right? Every character, like Bebop, as I've said in his video, the bombs can infinitely stack their damage. So as the game goes on, he'll just be doing more and more. But Drifter is a little bit different. He can snowball very, very well, and that's because of a certain ability he has, but I'm not going to get to that just yet. The first upgrade for Rend increases the damage to do 35 extra damage. That is, by the way, 35 extra spirit damage, not melee damage. The second upgrade decreases its cooldown to 8 seconds, which is very short for an ability that can do as much damage as it can. And the third upgrade gives it 45% bullet lifesteal against afflicted enemies for 4 seconds. So you can slash someone and then you get lifesteal off of your bullets, which would obviously help you sustain yourself in a fight, and allows him to live way more than he really should. And it obviously plays into the vampire thing. I mean, now that makes sense. I didn't even know he was a vampire, as I said, but besides the point. Anyways, his second ability is known as Stalker's Mark. Send out a mark that bleeds the first target it hits, dealing spirit damage over time. While the enemy is bleeding, you can reactivate Stalker's Mark to instantly appear behind their back. It does 2% spirit damage per second as bleed damage. It lasts for 6 seconds and has a 20-second cooldown. And it looks as such. You kind of throw out a red projectile that goes in a kind of straight line. It kind of goes upwards a little bit when you first cast it. Oh, I actually hit him. And actually, good point. Look, so he has the mark on him and he's taking bleed damage. And as you can see, if I press 2 again, I'll appear right behind them, which is obviously useful considering, you know, shotgun main weapon, and as I just showed, Rend is a ability that does extra damage in close range. So you can ambush, Rend, and then just start shooting. He can get picks quite well with this. Obviously you do have to, you know, aim the ability. But if a enemy is trying to run away, say they're just about to make it around the corner, you hit them with Rend, or what's it called, Stalker's Mark? They're not gonna run, because then you can just get behind them, do damage, blah blah blah. This is a good tool for sort of securing kills or beginning an engagement. If you're able in a team fight to kind of thread the needle and get it past to hit someone like in the backline, say there's like a Page kind of supporting the team from the backline, or maybe a Kelvin, and you're able to hit them with the Stalker's Mark and teleport behind them and get rid of them. Yeah, Drifter can, you know, he does a lot of damage up close, and this allows him to get up close and personal, because you can mark, Rend, and then just shoot. Simple combo, but it does a lot of damage, even on this training bot that, like, even after you remove the mark, by the way, when you teleport, the bleed still keeps going. So it's not like the teleport gets rid of the bleed, which is obviously really good. But anyways, the first upgrade for it increases the damage of the bleed to 3% per second, which, by the way, I believe scales with spirit damage, but Drifter is not a character you want to build with spirit damage. Please do not build him with spirit damage. I don't know if that's a thing that exists, but I highly doubt it's anywhere near as good as building him for gun damage. But anyways, the second upgrade increases your fire rate by 25% after ambushing, so the teleport. And its third upgrade gives the ability 2 charges, which of course allows you to more actively use it and more actively engage and get up close and personal. Said ambush increase, by the way, that's the fire rate before, after. Sizable increase, it's noticeable, right? So now you are even more encouraged to teleport, Rend, and just shoot away. Simple bread and butter combo, but it obviously is effective, and there's a reason. Now, as I've said, and as the video is titled, I called him the Snowball King. I say he's the best snowballer in the entire game. Now's to get to the reason why I say that. Blood Scent. Whoops. This ability reads as such. It has an 80-meter range, and isolated heroes leave a trail as they move, and emit their heartbeat from afar. You deal amplified damage against isolated heroes, and killing them grants you a permanent weapon damage increase. The amplified damage is 15%, which is a very, very large bonus. 15% extra damage, just raw. That's a lot. And the isolation range has to be 25 meters. So 25 meters away from, you know, any other, like, enemies. So you can see this drifter bot here, he doesn't have any sort of blood mark trail thing because he's already close to another ally. Whereas if we go to this bot over here, which should have the heartbeat on it. I'm actually not sure. It should. Okay. It should have the heartbeat on it, but it doesn't for some reason. So I am probably just going to have to very quickly create a bot like 20 miles away from any other enemy. Just mid-video, because why not? As you can see, there's a sort of red aura on the drifter. And if he were to walk, say if I turn him into a puppet, he kind of... he leaves this sort of blood trail behind him. This blood trail makes it so you can kind of find isolated targets. And say, let's say I kill him. Now, as you see, there is a +5 bonus there. Which is, by the way, the isolated hero kill bonus is permanent 5% weapon damage. Which is nothing to scoff at, mind you. 5% permanent weapon damage is very, very good. Because remember, lots of his damage is coming from his actual gun. A lot of his damage comes from his rend, which scales with melee damage. And what does melee damage scale with? Gun damage. So you can see where I'm going. If you are able to find multiple isolated targets and the such, you will be able to kill things very, 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 very easily. I don't even know how to explain, like, how high the blood scent can go. Like, seriously, you are going to do unbelievable damage late in game if you are able to scale this weapon damage higher and higher and higher and higher. Like, he does some of the highest damage in the game because of this one ability. This one ability allows him to be the top of the top when it comes to snowballing. If a drifter is left to run rampant, it might as well just be game over. Like, it is nearly impossible to out DPS him or kill him. It is just insane how strong he can be. But, of course, you do have to keep in mind that the enemies have to be isolated. So, say you see a drifter on the enemy team, it would be best to not, like, run around and do jungle camps as often, because drifter could, you know, just show up and obliterate you, if he's good enough, of course. But, as I said, this can just go higher and higher and higher, and it's just absurd. It's genuinely absurd how high and how much damage he can do. But, enough with me blabbering about the potential of this ability. Its first upgrade increases your movement speed by 2 meters per second when around an isolated enemy hero. On the second upgrade, on an isolated kill, reduce all of the cooldowns of your abilities by 15 seconds and restore 3 stamina, which, by the way, basically resets Stalker's Mark and resets Rend. And on its third upgrade, the amplified damage that you do against isolated targets increases to 25%, which is definitely nothing to scoff at. And of course, that 3 stamina restored allows you to kind of just chain isolated kills, or allow you to get around the map better. And just as a show of, you know, that extra damage it can do. So say, let's have 2 enemies put next to each other, correct? Right? So these 2 are next to each other. This is the damage ideal to, you know, a target with a friend. Now, if I remove the bots and then respawn this enemy on their own, so they are an isolated target, you can see the damage increase. It's nothing to scoff at, like, at all. Like, the increased damage is a decent bit. Actually, now I'm looking at it, is this even proccing the isolated target condition? No one knows. But either way, you understand what I'm trying to say. This ability allows Drifter to snowball to be the strongest character in the entire game, bar none, no questions asked, unbelievable, stupid shit. Drifter can be so damn stupid, and I know this from personal experience because, as I said, in the B-roll footage, I ended up with 52k souls and obliterated the team in a 1v5 because the damage he can do with his guns, with his rend, it's too much for a team to really counter. Like, even if you bought all the bullet resist in the world, he would be able to obliterate you. But anyways, moving on from his snowball potential with blood scent, His final ability is known as Eternal Night, which has a description reading as such. Surround nearby enemy heroes in darkness, severely limiting their vision of other units. Affected enemies are briefly revealed. You gain bonus sprint speed and your attacks proc spirit damage for the duration. The reduced vision is 15 meters, the extra spirit damage is 7.66 at base, and the extra sprint speed is of course 3 meters per second. The maximum amount of targets that can be blinded is 2, and just to actually show what this ability looks like, I'm going to have to spawn in a bot of Drifter, and this may look a bit laggy, may look a bit stiff because it takes a minute for me to sort of swap back and forth. But say I am now controlling this bot of Drifter. I press my alt button, and as you can see, I get this sort of cone around me. And if Drifter walks out of the range, he disappears completely. And if I clear the follow, and on my end, when I use this ability, for me, it kind of makes everything tinted slightly red. And as you see, the extra spirit damage is applied on my, normal attacks. This ability kind of is very good in multiple situations, so it can be useful in when you're hunting down an isolated target. Because if you're getting extra sprint speed, they can't see shit, and you're dealing extra damage, you're gonna kill them easier, meaning you get another stack of blood scent, right? But it also can be used in team fights to disorientate the enemy team because they won't be able to see their allies or other enemies, because it obviously removes not only you from outside of the cone of vision, but other teammates. So say, for example, you remove Lash from their cone of vision. They'll have no idea that he's going to just fly up and then suddenly slam down outside of, audio cues. But the first upgrade to it gives it an extra 7 spirit damage per proc, bringing it to 14.7. Its second upgrade reduces its cooldown by 30 seconds and gives you an extra 3 meters of sprint speed, making the cooldown 100 seconds and a 6 meter sprint speed bonus. And the final upgrade increases the duration by 2 seconds and increases the max targets by 1, making it so it lasts for 9 seconds and that the max targets becomes 3. All of Drifter's kit just kind of really works and flows into one another. Like, say you find an isolated target like this poor enemy Drifter. Ambush, rend, and maybe even Eternal Night beforehand. You just simply kill them, bang, another proc or another stack of blood scent, and then you just keep going. You just keep killing and killing and killing, and you just stack up blood scent further and further and further. Look, I've killed 3 people isolated by technicality, and what do I have now? 15% permanent weapon damage bonus. Now, if we were to go to the shop and, play the game as someone normally would, and let's say we, let's just buy all these lovely items, all of this stuff, put that on one, buy this, that, this, sell that, sell this, sell that, sell that, buy literally everything and anything you could ever imagine on, like, let's just, right? Let's see, say this is an end game build, right? You made yourself to the end game, done some real good shit. That didn't really look like a lot, did it? Right, this is a level 1 enemy. Why is Drifter taking so long to kill? Now think about all the stuff here. Think about crushing fists. Like, let's see how much melee damage. Wow, look at that melee damage. What does he have on? Trophy collector. It just, like, so obviously in a normal game you would just be playing normally, right? You just be like, what I'm kind of going all over the place, but you get the idea I'm trying to point out. Drifter can do stupid damage, like really, really dumb damage. Quick reminder, all of this damage I'm dealing is just with, the gun. I haven't even used any of the abilities yet. I haven't even touched any. Say I teleport. Wow. All of his health gone with 1 rend. Now imagine in a normal scenario where you just have, look how much damage I've already accumulated. 50% extra permanent weapon damage. Now, of course, you're not going to be able to do this in every game, right? But Drifter's kit, if played well, and result in, ridiculous. Like, ridiculous. I feel like I've gotten my point across, haven't I? Have I not? I feel like I've gotten my I feel like I've gotten my point across. He is the Snowball King. I will not be hearing it otherwise. He snowballs better than everyone else in the game, but by far, mostly because they literally made him or gave him an ability that allows him to snowball. So, shocker that the guy designed to snowball is going to be really, really good at snowballing. Wow, who could have seen that coming? But I really like his kit. I really do enjoy it. I like the sort of creepiness that he has, both in his lore and his kit. Like, you don't want to be alone when there's a drifter around. Like, you won't be able to hear it because obviously I'll lower the audio of the gameplay so you can hear my ever so sweet, lovely tones of voice. But during his ult, you can just hear a whispering. Or not whispering, a whistling. Just a whistling when he's out of range. That is creepy as shit. Can you imagine, like, oh, I'm gonna run to the, what is this called again? Sin Sacrifice. Oh, there's a Sin Sacrifice machine. Oh boy, I can't wait to punch this and get my buffs. Then you suddenly just get blinded. Drifter is suddenly teleported behind you, and you just die. You just die, and you can't really do anything. Like, he just does a lot of damage. Obviously, there are ways to counter him, and, well, there aren't, actually. You can buy, you know, bullet-resistant stuff, which will obviously tamper how much damage he does, but the best thing you can do to Drifter is that in the early game, to apply as much pressure as you can, just to prevent Drifter from, like, getting ahead. Because if Drifter gets ahead, it actually just might be game over. Like, he just does too much. He does too much damage. Like, as I said, I won a 1v5 as Drifter because I was just allowed to get ahead and I had 52k souls. Like, he just does too much damage for anyone to reasonably handle. But anyways, removing all of the bots, of course, I would now like to move on to analyzing his lovely design. And his design is really damn good. I absolutely love how ragged he just looks from head to toe. This looks like a man who is wearing clothing that is hundreds of years old. Like, that shirt is so drenched in blood that the top half of it is just permanently, like, vaguely red. Like, there's blood on it still now. Like, who knows how fresh that is. There's obviously, like, tear marks, as you can see, near, like, his stomach area. The actual neckline is just also torn in places. His trousers are very dirty and very ragged. Got holes in them on the knee, or even at the back of the legs as well. His shoes. Look at his shoes, man. He's wearing pirate shoes. That's the sort of shit I would have bought for Sea of Thieves for like £2. Like, look, he's got tape on the end of it to keep the actual end of it down. Like, he is ragged. His clothes are ragged. Look at the makeshift belt he's got on. His jacket, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this jacket was like really nice and fancy, right? But as the years or centuries have gone on, this thing has just been it's probably glued to his body. It's obviously like worn and torn. You can see the shoulders are kind of splitting. The actual collar of it is all torn and sort of surprisingly clean. Actually, the red is surprisingly colorful, but then you look at the sleeves. Look, like the rolled up sleeves are just dark red, probably from blood. I wouldn't be surprised if those are white at some point. And his hands are comically large, but they are kind of creepy. You've got like occult symbols lining them, scratch marks. His fingernails are like long and sharp. He has one singular fingerless glove on for some reason. Don't really understand that. But it does actually look like he's just kind of drenched his hands in blood. And there's so much blood on them. Like, it's the idea that he has so much blood on his hands that they are permanently stained. That I think is really damn cool. And of course, he's always got this big old toothy grin on his face. Big fangs bared at all times. And he just reminds me of that one image of Flight Reacts, which I'm sure you saw my lovely edit of in the transitional period. I spent like 10 minutes drawing that. I am very, very proud of it. But yeah, he's got like this big toothy grin, unkempt hair, glowing red eyes. He's got a little flat cap on. He's even got like... Why is only one ear exposed, actually? I don't know. He's got a little pointy ear, though. I think that's quite cool. But yeah, he literally looks like a murder hobo. Like, people have called him a murder hobo, and yeah, he looks like one. There's no other way to explain it. Like, ragged-ass clothes, covered in blood, head to toe. Well, not head to toe. You understand what I mean. But yeah, he just looks evil. Like, he's the exact type of person you do not want to meet down a dark alleyway. Like, I do not want to be rounding the corner into, like, a dark... I do not want to run for a teleporter and just see just this standing there waiting for me. That'd be scary as shit. I wouldn't be surprised if people have already done like jump scare clips with him. But yeah, I really like the Drifter's design. He looks like a murder hobo and he really sells that idea, and I do love him a lot. He's creepy, he's weird, he's not otherworldly. He's creepy, he's weird, and he's a murder hobo. And he's the Snowball King as well. He's got a lot of titles to him. And of course he's the Drifter, which God only... whenever someone says the Drifter, I just think of the fella from Destiny. The fella goes, alright, alright, alright. But that's me going off on a tangent and getting excited again. But yeah, this is, I would consider, the end of the video. Gone over his gameplay, gone over his design, and I both think they are absolutely fantastic. I do think Drifter's a little bit strong. Like, he is still, like I said obviously earlier, you don't want to let him get ahead in the laning phase, but he's still quite good in laning. Like, his gun is solid enough that he can deal good damage up close and personal if you're not careful in the laning phase. So, like, he does obviously have the downside of if he's not allowed to get ahead, he will just simply struggle. He might never actually catch up later on in the game, but it's obviously, he's still good in laning. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that he could just catch up. Like, he's not too good. He's just really damn good. Very strong, does lots of weapon damage. As you know, I can't really say any more about Blood Scent. But yeah, I think he's the best snowballer in the game. Again, everyone in this game can snowball. Doesn't matter who you are, you can snowball in some way, shape, or form. Like, even Paige. Like, she's obviously designed to be a support of some kind. She's probably the only character in this game that I would say is a dedicated support. Like, Ivy has the ability to support, Kelvin does as well. But both of these two just do have DPS builds, like Kelvin freeze beam builds. They can just annihilate you. Paige doesn't. She does have DPS builds. I used one when I was gathering B-roll footage for my video. But she is like the first character who feels like a dedicated support. So I don't think she can really snowball. She's probably the only character that can't. But then again, if she snowballs, then the rest of the team is probably going to snowball because then they can't die. So yeah, she's probably the only character who snowballs in a different way. But of all of them, Drifter does it best. He just does it the best because he literally has an ability designed for it. So yeah, if you ever find a Drifter in your game, whether that be you playing as him or against him, if you're against him, don't let him snowball. And if you are him, play safely in the beginning. And if you can, get as many isolated character picks as you possibly can, because you will be an absolute menace. Yeah, this is the end of the video. I really like the Drifter. He's definitely voiced by Matt Merc-I, and I will die on that hill. If I am proven wrong, I will cry myself to sleep and wonder how long will it take for him to get in the game, because I feel like it's just an inevitability at this point if he isn't already the Drifter. But with that said, if you have enjoyed this video or found it informative, do like, comment and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, whether that be a good morning, afternoon or evening. And the next character in this lovely series will be another personal favourite of mine. I mean, I say personal favourite, almost every single character on the roster I like in some way, shape or form. Calico's probably just the one I feel the least about, but even then I still like her gameplay. But anyways, one of my personal favourites, that being the ever-lovable, fat-ass teacher. Well, technically fat, he's big-boned? Can he be big-boned if he's made out of metal? Who knows? Either way, the next video is going to be on my beloved Dynamo.